trained in the UFC. I'm the roughest, toughest, buckest mother what? And I can fight pretty damn good too, baby.
Nate the Train Landwehr versus Ho Choi opens up the main card of UFC 310 this weekend. This is going to be a really fun fight, I think. Both these guys are really exciting strikers. Nate Landwehr, gritty guy, loves to mix it up, make the fights super exciting. Shoot takedowns, will throw hands, throws a lot of head kicks. Ho Choi, tons of power in his hands, crazy left hook, throws great leg kicks as well, as we saw in his last fight against Kyle Nelson. Nate Landwehr, 36 years old. He's just taken a lot of damage in his fights, and I think at some point in an MMA fighter's career, you know that that's going to catch up to him. I just think that's going to be probably this fight against Ho Choi. I think Ho Choi is just he's gonna be putting a lot of damage and a lot of output out there on Nate Landwehr. Nate Landwehr, he's easy to hit. Like I said, he takes a lot of damage. I look at his UFC stats. He's almost at like 6 significant strikes absorbed per minute. I think he's used to relying on his chin and his durability to grit through these fights and kind of outlast the other guy. He'll take one to dish one out, and it usually ends up in his favor where he's able to kind of overwhelm the other person. I just think Ho Choi is going to be too powerful. He's going to be putting out too much offense to where Nate Landwehr is not going to really be able to sustain that style any longer. He's had a long career in Russia, now in the UFC, obviously. Been knocked down a lot of times, finished a few times, knocked out by Herbert Burns, knocked out by Julian Erosa, hurt in his fight against David Onama, hurt really badly in his fight 2 fights ago against Dan Ige. You just can't be banking on your chin to hold up in a fight against Ho Choi. It's not a sound game plan. You really got to be defensively responsible against this guy on the feet, and I just don't think Nate Landwehr has that in him to fight that type of defensively sound style of fight that you need to have against a guy like this. I think Ho Choi is going to chop up his legs. He was throwing great leg kicks against Kyle Nelson 2 fights ago. I just think he's going to be eating those up, hindering the movement of Nate Landwehr to where he can't really put out that forward pressure, aggressive style that he's normally used to doing. And I think that it's going to open up the strikes for Ho Choi on the feet. Nate Landwehr is going to be more of a stationary target, not going to be moving as well. I think Ho Choi is going to start lining him up on the feet. Ho Choi just came off of a finish of Bill Algeo. Bill Algeo's no slouch. That guy, he's got a lot of fights in the UFC. He's beat a lot of good opponents. Very tough dude. Ho Choi was able to defend his takedowns, keep it on the feet, ended up landing, I think it was a left hook that I'm assuming broke Bill Algeo's orbital bone. As soon as he took that punch, he just hit the ground, crumpled. You see that a lot of guys. You see that in guys a lot when their eye sockets get cracked. So Ho Choi looked great in that fight. The fight before that against Kyle Nelson, I think he won that fight. Had a point taken from him in the 3rd round for an illegal headbutt on the ground, which is just absolutely ridiculous. It was accidental, didn't do any damage. The ref took a point from him. There was less than a minute left in the fight. Ended up being a draw. So I would consider Ho Choi coming off a two fight win streak. Just recently fought in July. So getting back in there, staying active. He was out for a couple of years, for 2 years due to his mandatory military service in the South Korean Army. But was also plagued with consistent injuries, back injuries, things like that around that time frame too. So burst onto the scene in 2016, had 3 first-round finishes. After that, he went on kind of a skid, but it was against really good opponents like Cub Swanson, Fight of the Year. I think it might even be in the UFC's Hall of Fame for, best fights ever. After that, it was Jeremy Stevens and then Charles Jourdain. And Charles Jourdain, he's probably one of my favorite fighters in that weight class. Very exciting, very well-rounded. So no shame in those losses by Ho Choi. He's 33. Like I said, coming off of 2 wins. He's been looking great. He's in his prime still. Nate Landwehr, I think he's at that point in his career where we just start to see the trajectory go down. He just doesn't have the fighting style that's conducive to a long career, especially at the age of 36. So Ho Choi is going to eat up the legs of Nate Landwehr, which is going to open up his strikes on the feet. Nate Landwehr, he's going to try and make it dirty, but I expect Ho Choi to kind of keep his distance, manage his distance on the feet, land the crispier strikes. Nate Landwehr tries to shoot in, tries to do any type of grappling. I can see Ho Choi defending those takedowns just by what I've seen in his last 2 fights. Even if he does get taken down, he usually pops back up pretty well. What he needs to not do is to try and pull guillotines like he did against Bill Algeo. He can't do that. I don't think he'll be able to finish Nate Landwehr, and if he just can't be giving up positions like that against somebody like Nate Landwehr. Nate Landwehr, he'll capitalize on those positions on the ground. He'll tire you out. He'll beat you up. So Ho Choi needs to do everything that he can to keep it standing on the feet. And if he does that, I think he wins this fight by decision. But I wouldn't be surprised to see him spark Nate Landwehr with one of his crispy strikes, left hook, right cross. So gonna go with Ho Choi in this one by decision or knockout. Thanks, guys.